The signal crackled through the void of space, a faint, desperate pulse cutting through the silence. "Do not trust the mission logs." The words echoed across the dimly lit control room, sending a chill through the assembled team. On the screen, the derelict spacecraft loomed, its jagged hull scarred with cryptic symbols that seemed to pulse faintly under the starlight. Commander Reyes leaned forward, her face illuminated by the cold glow of the monitors. "What the hell happened out there?" she muttered, her voice low but sharp. The ship's damage was catastrophic, its outer layers torn as if clawed by some unseen force. Engineer Patel pointed to the symbols, his voice trembling slightly. "These aren't random, they're deliberate, a warning maybe." Pilot Kovac, seated at the controls, adjusted the feed to zoom in on the ship's name, barely visible beneath the scars. "Proxima One," he read aloud, his tone heavy with unease. The air in the room grew thicker, the weight of the unknown pressing down on them all. Reyes straightened, her eyes narrowing. "We need answers, and we need them fast." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving only static and a lingering sense of dread. The mission was no longer about exploration. It was about survival, and as the team prepared to board the wreckage, one question hung unspoken in the air: what, or who, had they been sent to find? As the team boarded the sleek, state-of-the-art research vessel, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Commander Reyes stood at the helm, her eyes scanning the crew, a hand-picked group of the brightest minds and most skilled astronauts. "This isn't just another mission," she began, her voice steady but laced with gravity. "What we're about to uncover could change everything." The ship's engines hummed to life, carrying them away from Earth and into the vast, uncharted expanse toward Proxima Centauri. Days into the journey, Engineer Patel stumbled upon something unsettling. Buried deep within the ship's systems, he discovered a series of encrypted logs hidden behind layers of security. "These weren't just misplaced," he said, his fingers flying over the console. "Someone went to great lengths to keep them hidden." The team gathered around as Patel decrypted the files, revealing fragments of text and cryptic diagrams. The logs spoke of a project shrouded in secrecy, with references to an experiment far beyond standard space exploration. Pilot Kovac leaned over Patel's shoulder, his brow furrowed. "This doesn't add up. If this mission was about exploration, why are we just now finding out about this?" Commander Reyes stepped forward, her expression hardening. "Because," she said, her voice low, "this mission was never about exploration. It was a cover for something far darker." The room fell silent, the weight of her words settling over them like a shroud. As they pieced together the logs, a chilling picture began to emerge. The mission was not about discovering new worlds, but about retrieving something, an artifact or technology from Proxima Centauri. The logs hinted at its immense power and the catastrophic consequences if it fell into the wrong hands. "Whoever sent us," Kovac muttered, "they knew what they were sending us into. And they didn't tell us the whole truth." The team's unease grew as they delved deeper. The logs referenced a classified operation, codenamed Eclipse, with ties to high-ranking officials on Earth. Engineer Patel turned to Reyes, his voice trembling. "Do you think we were sent here to uncover something they wanted buried forever?" Reyes hesitated, her gaze drifting to the star-filled viewport. "It's starting to look that way," she admitted, "but if that's the case, we need to find out what they're hiding before it's too late." As the ship hurtled closer to Proxima Centauri, the team knew they were no longer just explorers. They were detectives, uncovering a truth that could shake the foundations of their world. And with every passing moment, the stakes grew higher, the danger more immediate. The investigation had begun, but the answers they sought might come at a cost none of them were prepared to pay. As the research vessel edged closer to Proxima Centauri, the tension on board reached a fever pitch. The stars outside seemed to shimmer with an unnatural intensity, as if the cosmos itself were holding its breath. It was then that the ship's sensors picked up something unusual, a faint, rhythmic signal emanating from the void. "We've got an anomaly," Pilot Kovac announced, his voice tinged with unease. "It's not natural, it's deliberate." Commander Reyes joined him at the console, her eyes narrowing as she studied the readings. "Plot a course," she ordered. "Let's see what we're dealing with." The ship adjusted its trajectory, moving cautiously toward the source of the signal. As they approached, a massive structure came into view, an alien artifact, its surface etched with intricate patterns that seemed to pulse with an eerie light. The crew stared in awe and disbelief. Engineer Patel broke the silence, his voice barely above a whisper. "This is it. This is what they were hiding." The artifact's presence was overwhelming, its sheer size and design unlike anything they had ever encountered. It radiated an energy that made the air hum, a palpable force that seemed to vibrate through the ship's hull. Pilot Kovac hesitated, his hand hovering over the controls. What if this is what they didn't want us to find? What if it's dangerous? His question hung in the air, unanswered but impossible to ignore. Commander Reyes squared her shoulders, her resolve unshaken. "We're here to uncover the truth," she said firmly, "and the truth is right in front of us." As the ship drew closer, the artifact began to react. A series of lights flared to life, illuminating the structure in a cascade of colors. Then, without warning, a holographic projection erupted from its surface, a message from the lost crew. The image flickered before stabilizing, revealing the faces of the men and women who had vanished years ago. Their expressions were haunted, their voices filled with urgency. "To whoever finds this," the leader of the lost crew began, "know that this mission was never what it seemed. We were sent here not to explore, but to retrieve this artifact, a weapon capable of unimaginable destruction. But we were betrayed. Forces within our own government sabotaged the mission, ensuring we would never return. This artifact, it's too powerful to be controlled. It must be destroyed." The message ended abruptly, leaving the crew in stunned silence. Engineer Patel was the first to speak, his voice trembling. They knew. They knew what this was, and they sent us here anyway." Pilot Kovac turned to Reyes, his eyes wide with disbelief. "This isn't just a mission anymore. It's a trap." Commander Reyes clenched her fists, her mind racing. The pieces were falling into place, but the picture they formed was horrifying. "If this weapon is as powerful as they say," she said slowly, "then we can't let it fall into the wrong hands. But we also can't let it destroy us." As the artifact's signal grew stronger, the crew realized they were running out of time. The artifact was not just a relic of an alien civilization. It was a ticking time bomb, and its activation could spell doom for Earth and beyond. The encounter had changed everything, and now the team faced an impossible choice: destroy the artifact and risk unleashing its power, or leave it intact and pray it remained dormant. The stakes had never been higher, and the truth they had uncovered was more terrifying than any of them could have imagined. The mission was no longer about discovery, it was about survival. And as they prepared to face the artifact head-on, one thing became clear: the danger was far from over, it was only just beginning. As the holographic message faded, the weight of its revelation pressed heavily on the crew. The atmosphere inside the ship grew tense, the air thick with suspicion and disbelief. Engineer Patel's voice broke the silence, sharp and accusing. "Someone here knew about this all along. Someone knew what we were walking into and kept it from the rest of us." His words echoed through the cabin. each syllable tightening the knot of unease that had formed among the team. Commander Reyes turned to face him, her expression unreadable. "That's a serious accusation, Patel. Do you have proof?" she demanded, her voice steady but laced with an edge of warning. Patel's eyes darted to the artifact's readings on the console, his hands trembling as he pointed to the data. "This isn't just a coincidence. The mission parameters, the encrypted logs, it all points to someone on this team being involved. And if it's not you, Commander, then who?" The tension in the room escalated, each crew member glancing at one another, their trust eroding with every passing second. Pilot Kovac stepped forward, his voice low but firm. "Patel's right. This mission was compromised from the start. Someone here played a part in it." The accusation hung in the air, a spark that ignited a firestorm of emotions. Voices rose, arguments erupted, and fingers were pointed in every direction. The unity the crew had once shared was crumbling, replaced by a volatile mix of fear and anger. Then, with a sudden, violent motion, Patel lunged at Commander Reyes, grabbing her by the arm. "It's you, isn't it? You're the one who knew," he shouted, his face red with fury. Reyes reacted instantly, shoving him back with a force that sent him stumbling into the console. The room erupted into chaos. Crew members scrambled to intervene, their shouts blending into a cacophony of accusations and denials. Amid the chaos, Rey's voice cut through like a blade. "Enough," she bellowed, her authority silencing the room. "If you want answers, then let's get them." But turning on each other isn't going to solve anything. For a moment, the crew hesitated, the tension still palpable. Then, Rey's expression shifted, a flicker of something unspoken passing across her face. She took a deep breath, her shoulders slumping slightly as if the weight of the truth had finally become too heavy to bear. "Fine," she said, her voice quieter now, almost resigned. "You want the truth, here it is. I knew about the artifact, I knew what it was, and I knew why we were sent here, but I didn't know the full extent of the danger, not until now." Her admission sent a shockwave through the crew. Patel stared at her, his anger giving way to disbelief. You lied to us. You led us into this knowing it could kill us all," he whispered, his voice trembling with betrayal. Reyes met his gaze, her expression a mixture of regret and determination. "I didn't have a choice. Orders were orders, but I swear, I never wanted this. I never wanted any of you to get hurt." Her words did little to ease the crew's anger. Pilot Kovac stepped forward, his voice cold and accusatory. "Orders or not, you kept this from us. You put all our lives at risk. How are we supposed to trust you now?" Reyes didn't answer, her silence speaking volumes. The crew's trust in her had been shattered, the betrayal too deep to ignore. As the artifact's signal grew stronger, the urgency of their situation became impossible to ignore. Engineer Patel turned to the rest of the team, his voice urgent. "We need to make a decision, and we need to make it now. Do we destroy this thing, or do we risk letting it fall into the wrong hands? Because if it's as powerful as they say, the consequences could be catastrophic." The crew exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of their decision pressing down on them. Commander Reyes finally broke the silence, her voice firm despite the chaos around her. "We can't let it destroy us, and we can't let it destroy Earth, but we also can't let it fall into the hands of those who would use it for their own gain. Whatever we do, we have to act fast." The artifact's hum grew louder, its lights pulsing with an intensity that made the ship's walls vibrate. Time was running out, and the crew knew that whatever choice they made would have consequences far beyond their mission. The betrayal had changed everything, and now, with their trust in pieces and the artifact's power looming over them, they faced the most difficult decision of their lives. As the artifact's hum reached a deafening crescendo, the crew realized they had no choice but to act. With the seconds slipping away, the truth of their mission was finally laid bare. Commander Reyes, her voice heavy with regret, revealed the chilling reality. This was never about exploration, she admitted. The mission was a test of this weapon's power. Earth's leaders planned to use it to control not just us, but entire systems. They wanted to make sure it worked before unleashing it on the galaxy. The crew stood frozen, the weight of her words sinking in. Engineer Patel, his face pale, broke the silence. So we were just pawns, sent out here to die for their experiments. Reyes nodded grimly, her eyes downcast. I didn't know the full scope of it when we left, but I knew enough, and now, we have to make sure this doesn't end up in their hands. Pilot Kovac stepped forward, his usual calm replaced by a fire of determination. If we destroy it, we stop them, but if we don't, this thing could be used to enslave worlds. There's no middle ground here. The crew exchanged uneasy glances, the gravity of their decision pressing down on them like the walls of the ship itself. Without another word, they moved into action. Patel and Kovac worked frantically to override the artifact's systems, their fingers flying over the controls. Reyes stood guard, her weapon ready in case the artifact's defenses activated. As the countdown began, the ship's alarms blared, warning of the imminent destruction. With only moments to spare, Kovac looked up from the console, his voice steady but urgent. Once we do this, there's no turning back. The artifact will be gone, and so will any proof of what happened here. But the truth, what they plan to do, we can't let that die with us. Reyes met his gaze, her expression a mix of sorrow and resolve. You're right, the galaxy needs to know. If we survive this, we'll make sure they do. Patel nodded, his hands trembling as he entered the final command. For what it's worth, I'm glad we're doing this together. At least we're choosing how this ends. The artifact's lights flickered wildly as the countdown reached 0. A blinding flash filled the ship, followed by an eerie silence. When the crew opened their eyes, the artifact was gone, its remnants scattered into the void. The ship was damaged, but they were alive. Kovac broke the silence, his voice quiet but firm. The truth won't die with us. We'll make sure the galaxy knows what happened here, not just about the mission, but about the weapon, the conspiracy, and the people who tried to use us as pawns. They won't get away with this. Reyes nodded, her face etched with a mix of exhaustion and determination. It's not over, not yet, but we've done what we can. Now, it's up to us to make sure this story gets told. The crew exchanged solemn glances, their bond reforged in the crucible of betrayal and survival. As they set their course for home, the weight of their actions and the truth they carried hung heavy in the air, leaving them with a haunting sense of justice and a question that lingered in the silence. What would humanity do with the knowledge of its darkest ambitions?